guess just initial impressions through the first several practices of spring ball here with your line.
We're making progress. We're a long way from being consistent. So obviously, and we're probably not going to get there in 15 practices. We've got a lot of guys that are, really playing their first meaningful snaps, as meaningful as spring ball can be. Andy's kind of the one guy we got back this spring. Grabowski will be back this summer, but so we're getting a lot of valuable reps, and we're starting to get there, but we're a long way from where we need to be.
Obviously lost a couple guys to the transfer portal. I guess what were you looking for when you went into the portal to bring guys in that would fit this offense in your scheme?
Well, I think, you think, quality. Obviously, you want guys with enough ability to win, but how they're wired and their mentality, I think, is as important as anything. Work ethic, things that, that fit our core values of the program. And so they need to be good enough, but they need to be wired the right way. And I mean, it's, big guys are hard to find that are wired the right way and can move and can do all the things that, you need to do as an offensive lineman at the Division I level. So it's a challenge for sure.
After you got through your first season, I guess, what was the evaluation process like as you looked at the line and what you did well and what you guys had to improve for season 2?
I think that, and we're always trying to improve anything. I think improve everything, but, I think we're talking about two completely different groups of people, year 1 and year 2. So I don't know that comparing what we did last year to comparing what we're going to do next year is even comparable, because, there's, right now one of the same people out there that was actually playing last year. I think that, I was proud of the effort we played with last year for the most part, and we became much more consistent. I thought, this group, we got a long way to go, and it shows, it starts with showing up every day and going to work and packing your lunchbox and, getting after it and competing. And I think we're doing a good job of that, but we got a long way to go.
You kind of returned like 1.5 starters with Josh kind of starting the second half of the season. Is that like, a daunting task as you look to rebuild this thing? I guess, how do you approach, kind of having, like you said, a lot of guys going through?
Yeah, I'd say 2 starters, but it's going to be it's going to be different. Just like it took a while last year to figure out what guys could do and what guys couldn't do and what guys were good at and not good at. It's not going to be much different this year, and we're going to have to look to add, if we can, more guys in the spring portal window to improve depth. But it's all about, I think, with this group, consistency and being consistently good, and really trying to make the whole greater than the sum of our parts. It doesn't matter if you've got the best left tackle in football if your left guard isn't any good. It isn't going to work. And so, we just go out every day to strive to be fundamentally sound and to be consistently good at what we're trying to do.
Are there a couple of guys who you think might have a big opportunity to kind of step into those starting roles that you're kind of seeing emerge so far?
I don't know that I would say anybody's emerged. There's definitely some guys that I think have a chance to maybe take the next step or maybe grow and mature and create more opportunities for themselves. But, at this point, I wouldn't even really say that we have a depth chart. It's, hey, what are we running, and, fundamentals and techniques, and let's get better at that.
Andrew could be a 4th-year starter. I guess, what does he bring to the unit that, kind of helps solidify what you're trying to do on the interior?
Experience, which is, at least we have guys with experience. Some of it may not be experience at this school, but with experience. But, he brings experience. He understands what we're trying to do because he was a starter last year every game, so he understands what we're trying to accomplish. And as a center, that's important to put us in the right calls and the right protections, and so he brings that experience.
When you look at Coach Lynch kind of stepping over and helping you, I guess, how much does that help as you try and put?
Yeah, it's great. I've known Coach Lynch forever. We've worked together before. As many sets of eyes as you can have, I think, and he's got his own offensive line experience. He was an offensive line coach for many, many years himself, and so I think we get along together. I think that. I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to be an asset for sure.
Yeah, some other changes to your offensive staff. Coach Gilbertson getting a chance to be a coordinator, I guess. What do you like about him kind of leading the offense and you supporting him?
He's just a good guy, you know what I mean? You like the people you work for. It makes stuff a lot easier. And, Coach Gilby's a good guy. He knows what he wants to accomplish, and I think he knows what he wants to do, but it isn't his way or the highway, if that makes sense. And so, but No, I think he's very consistent and thorough and smart, and I think all the coaches on our staff are gonna, it's all important.
Yeah, and Coach Mastro joining the
Yeah.
running back group. I guess his expertise and knowledge. I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. I learned something from Coach Mastro every day about O-line play, quite honestly, and the pistol offense and things like that. So I picked his brain a lot last year, but having him in the offensive staff room is awesome, and I love it.
What do you feel like you need to accomplish through the end of this spring camp to feel like you guys are on the right track before you hit the ground running again in the fall?
Consistency. Can we go out there every day, regardless of weather, regardless of play call, and can we do our job? It isn't always going to look exactly like you want it to look as the offensive line coach, but can we get our job done? At the end of the day, technique and fundamentals are critical, but get your job done. That's really what it's about. And so can we get 5 guys consistently doing that? That's what we're looking for. And we're not going to be a finished product, but hopefully we got, we're not even halfway yet. We have some time and we can become more consistent.
What's it feel like to be back out there on the field and coaching a position?
Yeah, it's good. I missed it, and it's good to be back. It's just it's kind of what because kind of all I'm good at in life, I think. So no, it's been fun. Yeah.
Can you take us kind of through the process and maybe returning to the field, stepping out of the GM spot and into the running back room?
Yeah, well, I never really wanted to get off the field. It's just that I had other things that were more important, and so we kind of priorities in your life, right? So, but me and Coach had talked throughout this season about it, and it just came a point when I kind of realized that I can help, I think, and it was something I wanted to do. My family was okay with it, which was the most important thing, and so glad to be back, and it's fun. It's fun to be back out there.
And what does it mean to be back out there at Mackey and be at Nevada?
Well, it's just this is like all the success that I had in my career was because of being here, and I'll never forget that. And if I have a chance to give back in a small way, I was going to. There's nowhere else I'd rather do this than here, and there's nowhere else I'm going to go but here. And so it was good. It was a good opportunity to kind of get into do a role that I like and enjoy, and working for a head coach that I respect, and that's the biggest thing. And it's fun. So we kind of think the same way, which I like.
You had some overlap at Washington State. Is that the first time you kind of ran across Coach Choder, or had you known him
No,
previously?
because the Boise, Nevada days, right? He was on the other side of the field for all those years, and very well respected special teams coordinator. And so when he came to Wazoo, we had a lot of things in common. And he's a phenomenal football coach. Offense, defense, special teams, he knows it all. But one thing, he's a great leader, and that's what I was looking for, somebody that can lead us, and he can do that.
Have the last couple of years, maybe taught you anything, just kind of being a little bit further away from being on the field as you returned on the field? Was there like a perspective you take, or
Yeah, I never would want to be an administrator because it's a thankless job. And I'm still in that world a little bit right now, just keeping our NIL alive and things like that. So I still have some off-the-field stuff that I'm going to continue to do until we slowly transition somebody into that role. But yeah, that administration stuff's for the birds.
Let's talk a little bit about your running backs. I guess, what do you like about the group as you've gone through about 6-7 practices?
Yeah, I like it. It's a blank slate, which I like. All of them bring something a little bit different. They're all hungry. They're all talented. So that's been fun to kind of bring them and start over. We're just starting over. It's just kind of a different way of teaching, but they're a dynamic group. They like each other, and I'm really excited about this group, moving forward.
Obviously, that Nevada back moniker's been out there for decades. I guess, what does that mean to you? What does it require to become a Nevada back at Nevada?
Well, it's hard, and some people think, you run for 1,000 yards, you're a Nevada back. That's not what it is. It's a mentality. It's a mentality of somebody who can just keep doing it over and over and over again. And these guys have all asked about it. We haven't had one here in forever, so it's important to them, and hopefully one of them could become that.
Nevada hasn't had a 1,000-yard back since 2016. I guess, how does that stat kind of hit you? Because I know when you were here, that was pretty regular to have a couple of those every year.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's the goal. I mean, again, as you well know from back in the day, my big stat is yards per carry. But if your yards per carry are where they're supposed to be, it's going to go hand in hand. But yeah, I didn't know it's been that long, so we got to get that back.
What would you say the running game's maybe been missing the last couple of years? I mean, it did seem like it took a nice step forward last year, but maybe not quite to the dominant level of what we saw in the 2000s.
Yeah, I don't know what it's been missing. I wasn't really involved enough to really know. I know consistency is a big thing. Having Coach Gilbertson as the offensive coordinator, we were together at Oregon, and it's going to be a lot of that based run game, which is the running back has to be dynamic. And we're going to ask them to do that. But, yeah, I think it's consistency. It's being able to do it over and over again. You don't have to have a lot of inventory, but you have to be good at what you do and do it well. Small packages, but do them well.
I mean, Herschel is one of the big additions this offseason. If you look at the transfer guys, I mean, what have you liked about him? What kind of interested you guys in him as you hit the portal?
Yeah, everything. I mean, you look at him, he looks like he's 170 pounds. He's 199 pounds. So he's put together, very smart, dynamic. All those guys are very dynamic. It surprised me how dynamic that group was. So all of them have done really good things so far this spring. It's whether it's 1 or 4 guys, we're going to do it with however it works. Is it by committee or is it one guy that takes the bull by the horns and goes? So that's yet to be determined. We'll figure that out in fall camp.
Coach Gilbertson stepping into the OC role for the first time. I mean, what advice have you given him? I guess what have you enjoyed about working with him and trying to put this offense together?
Yeah, it's been fun. So at Oregon, he was kind of like my right-hand man at Oregon. And so we worked a lot together. And so when this job opened up, I think Coach was going to go that way. That's what he was leaning towards. But when that happened, it was really enticing for me to come back, just to know that I have my guy there and I'll be able to help him. And he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal coach, smart, very organized, keeps his packages small. He's based on execution, which is what you got to do. You got to be good at the things you do. You don't want 1,000 things. You want to be good at 10. And that's what he does.
Do you feel a different hop in your step coming to the office, knowing that you're not doing the administrating stuff as much and you're doing the football stuff more?
Absolutely. It's just I think people thought I got out of coaching because I was burnt out. I was at the top of my game. I mean, the hardest phone call I ever made in my life was to have to call Mario and tell him I wasn't coming to Miami. That was hard. But other things were more important at the time, and those things are still important. But to be able to come back and coach and do it here, where I owe my career to this place, and that's a great way to pay it back.
When you came here in 2000 with Coach Tormey, I mean, did you think that this place was going to mean that much to you, or did you think it was like the next stop on where you were going?
No, I didn't really know when I got here. It was such an unknown to me. But I know Coach Alt for all those years, and when he asked me to stay with him when he took over, that was huge for me because I had so much respect for him throughout the years, and that was the key for me, was just being able to work with him. And we've remained great friends ever since, and I still, to this day, still use the lessons learned from him, through my times at UCLA, Washington State, Oregon. I still used what I learned from him throughout those stops.
With him being at practice as often as he is, I mean, does that mean a lot to you just to see him still connected to this thing that he kind of really built over those 30 years?
Absolutely, and I still get nervous when he comes on the field. But it's phenomenal having him around, and he helps with a lot. He helps us with a lot of stuff off the field too, and that's big because this community respects the heck out of him.
Coach, going back to the Chris Ault days, when running backs, you mentioned before, 1,000 yards here and there, it seemed like happened every single year out there.
Yeah.
What sort of qualities do you remember of the running backs back in those days that you want to see out of your guys this season?
Yeah, again, be able to do it over and over and over. Durability is everything. And in the era of NIL and transfer portal, it's easy for these kids when it gets hard to say I quit. And if they want to do that, then on to the next one. We're going to coach the ones that want to be here. But if they're going to want to be here and they're going to want to stay in this program, it's going to be that tough mentality where it's going to happen over and over and over again until they get it right. Once they get it right, then we're good.
What do you need from the backs to get this program back to where it was when you were?
Yeah, production. The big thing is they have to be able, people talk about teams that are good on third downs. We have to be good on first down to be good on third down. And that's what I think I hang my hat on when you're game planning is when it's 1st and 10, you have got to be able to move the chains. Back in the day, we were, it was 2nd and 3 all the time. And you got to get back to that somehow, whether it's run the ball, throw the ball, but your back's got to be dynamic in the passing game here. And they're going to be. They're going to be a lot more dynamic than they've been in the past because that's what Coach Gilbertson wants. And I'm all about that.
You obviously helped invent the pistol. I mean, are there elements you're still trying to get into this offense, or is it Coach Gilbertson, this is your thing, I'll help where you want?
Well, we had Oregon, we were the pistol a bunch, and David was part of that. So we're in it a lot. There's it's still to me the best actual formation in football, and just because you can do so much out of it. But yeah, we'll be in it a bunch. But there's a bunch of stuff we're going to do when we're going to spread teams out and get into empty and be in shotgun. That's all going to be part of it. But it all stems from being in the pistol and being able to not give the defense the answers to the test.
How much are you looking forward to September and just being able to, coach a set of guys on a game day?
Yeah, I am. I love practice. I love fall camp. That's what I really missed was fall camp and that grind and getting ready for the season. I really, really missed that. And I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Mr. Madrigal, going into your 3rd straight season as the presumptive starting center. Your coach is out here talking about consistency, and you were the personification pretty much of that. What has gone into these last couple of years to get you to where you are?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it's been here for a while. Been here all 4 years so far, going to my 5th year and hopefully my 4th season of starting. It's been fun. I've had a good group of guys, good coaches, good staff to keep my body healthy. My big thing is just making sure that I stay healthy. I take care of my body so I can keep playing and be there for my guys. And got to push through some injuries and some pain, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. I've been lucky.
The structure of last year's spring ball versus the one this year, how would you compare and contrast the two? Which one would you prefer maybe?
I think I'm preferring this one, but it's not over, so I don't know. But I kind of like the 5 days of just kind of grind. I think it's a little bit more similar to the season where you're just kind of really tired by the end of the week, but you got to get yourself ready and get ready for the game. So I like this because you get the weekends off, which has been cool. I think Coach Choate does a good job at listening to the players and watching his players and making sure that everything works out for them. So, if he could tell when practice we're kind of beat up, he gives us a little bit more calm of a practice than next practice. So I think he does a great job at watching us. But, yeah, I think I prefer this spring ball.
It's kind of your last dance, I guess. How are you feeling going into knowing this is your last season at Nevada, last season in college?
Yeah, it's kind of surreal. I had a lot of older guys when I came in kind of tell me this whole spiel about it goes by quick and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, this has already been 2 years and it's been forever. But now that I'm through 4 years and going to my 5th, it does go by quick. But, I've loved being here. I love being at Nevada. It's in my blood. And, I'm excited to play one more season here.
Saw some of your line guys transfer in the offseason. I guess what's made you want to stick here and see it through?
Yeah, I think I just, like I said, I have a love for the program, for the union. I've kind of always been like a loyal person to a program. Not to put any disrespect to those guys. Those are still my best friends. I talk to them all the time. But I have a lot of love and respect for the program. I have a good job out here, good college, all that stuff. So I'm doing my degree and I'm loving it, so just like to stick it out here and keep playing for the Pack. So
tell us a little bit about the new guys, because you guys are kind of breaking in 4 new starters, at least in this spring until Josh gets back. I guess who's kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, I think everybody's been working their butts off. Snoop, he was here last season. He's been working hard. He did a lot on the off season, worked up. Dylan Lopez has done great. Hadeen, he's a new guy. He's doing great. Jack Foster, he's doing amazing. I think everybody's been working their butts off and trying to learn the program, learn what they got to do, and I think a lot of guys are buying into the O-line and sticking with the union. So, yeah.
Seen a little bit of Lopez at center. Do you have a preference on where you are there? I know you've played both at Nevada.
Yeah, I don't care. I came here as a guard, and then one of the old guys, he got hurt, and I had to step in at center, and I just kind of stuck there for the last 2 years. But I love playing guard. I think everything's fun. I'll do whatever I got to do, whatever the team needs me to do. I don't really have any preference. I just want to be on the field and play as many snaps as I can. So,
talking with the guys, it seems like it's a little different feel in the locker room. More blue collar, kind of lunch pail kind of guys, maybe not as highly acclaimed. Have you felt a different, vibe from your teammates as you prepare for this season?
Yeah, I think everybody just knows, they have a job to do. There's not so much fighting all the time. Guys aren't really bickering with each other. It's football. There's still going to be a little bit of hands thrown, but I think things get settled down really quickly, and guys don't carry it to the locker room, which is a really nice thing. I think everybody has respect for each other and love for each other. A lot of guys are still new, and we're going to get new guys coming in too. So, but I think Coach Cho has done a great job at bonding the group as a whole. So I think everybody knows everybody. Everybody cares about everybody, and they want to see the best for their teammates.
One of the 5-year OGs on the team. It might just be you and Whitty.
Yeah.
I think Whitty said it was only him, but we remembered you.
Yeah.
I guess, what does he kind of bring in the defense?
Yeah, he's got 1 year on me. He was here the year before I got here. But, he brings a lot. I think he brings a lot of excitement and energy to the D-line and the defense as a whole. I didn't get a workout with the defense because I was obviously with the offense. But, I heard a lot of good things about how he was always getting the guys going through winter workouts. But, even in spring ball, I think he does a good job at hyping up his guys, and then in turn it hypes us up. And I think he's a good backbone to the program. And, he's stuck around his whole career as well. So, me and him were just actually talking too down there about, little things that go on. And we're just like, we're too old to be bickering with each other and be fighting. So, we just, every play through the snap, we go as hard as possible. And, he pushes me, and I'd like to believe I push him, and he pushes all the other guys as well.
Is there a different urgency for you, just knowing this is your last chance to achieve whatever you want to get out of your college experience?
Yeah, it's that's funny. I was just talking about that too. It's kind of it's a little surreal. Things go by quick, like I said earlier. I've always been, if the league works out for me, that's awesome. But I'm gonna give my all while I'm in college. And when I was in high school, I had no clue I was gonna go to college until my junior year, at least to play football. So I'm kind of in that same mindset right now that I'm just gonna give my all that I have, and if I'm here, I might as well try. So, but I'm give it all. If God willing, I can make it to the league. That's awesome. But if not, I've had a great time here. I've met some of my best friends. I've met amazing coaches, amazing staff, and all that stuff. So, I'm just going into it with just happiness and humble. I'm trying to stay humble about I've played a lot of games, but there's a lot of guys under me that might eventually be playing just as many, if not more, than me. So I'm trying to help them out as well.
New running back coach and Coach Mastro. I know he's been around the program, but as you guys try and get back to developing that 1,000-yard rusher, I guess what has he meant kind of to the offense as you put this run game together?
Yeah, Coach Mastro's awesome. I mean, you just listen to him and he has a lot of knowledge about the game, and he pushes his running backs really hard, I think, for the better. I think Coach Mastro, like I said, he's very knowledgeable, great coach. He's not always saying much to everybody, but when he says something, you gotta buckle up and listen, because he's going to say something that's very meaningful and is going to help you, even if he's talking to a lineman. I mean, he's been around the game for a while. He's one of the creators of the pistol offense, so he knows everything in it. So when we're trying to pick that up and learn from him, it's very helpful.
A lot of the guys have talked about Herschel Turner. I guess what have you seen from him?
Yeah, he has got a good mustache. He works hard. He's a good guy. I think the whole running back room is doing great. Like I said, there's a lot of new guys, so it's been a lot of guys to watch, and trying to focus on myself in the line. But watching those running backs, they've been running their butts off. I think that's a lot of Mastro putting that effort to them. But I think they've been a great group, so I'm excited for all of them.
Is there something you focused on the off season and you're gonna focus on this summer to take your game to a higher level?
Yeah, I think like my flexibility, my speed, trying to lean out a little bit, get back to when I was a little skinny guard going into center. But yeah, just working on my body, trying to stay healthy, trying to stay positive, and just keep going.
Has it been hard to stay positive the last few years? I mean, you guys haven't had the seasons that you wanted. I guess what's kept you, like, as a veteran, trying to be an uplifter to the teammates?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's been hard. It's been tough. You get people, everybody's always talking bad to you. Everybody's always saying bad things, and they forget sometimes they're talking to college athletes and guys that are still young. To me, it doesn't really affect me. I mean, I'm used to it. I don't really care. But I know for some of the younger guys, it's tough on them. So I always try to be just a shoulder for guys. Not saying that they're over here crying or anything, but just showing them that like you can get through it. And at the end of the day, a lot of programs have little down slips, but they always will pick it up eventually. I think Coach Choate's the coach to do it. I think this will be the season where we'll start going on the hill. But I know for sure in the next few years he's here, it's going to be a great program. I can't wait to be in the alumni bleachers watching the guys. So hopefully I could do it this year too on the field. But I'm excited for the program.
What makes you so confident then in his leadership that this thing's going to get turned around?
I just see the way he changes guys. One of his big things is he's trying to turn college guys into men and trying to make their lives better. And for him, it's not always about football, but, the most important thing is football right now. But his big thing is to make us men, to be greater people. So I think he does a great job at turning guys. I know he's trying to focus on a lot of younger guys right now, bringing in young guys and trying to develop them. I think he's just a great coach, a great leader, a great example. So that's why I have that confidence of, I've seen, Coach Norvell when he left, I thought he was very similar in the way that he was very uplifting to players. And just to see that Coach Choate is even more so uplifting of players and helping them. He's like that military drill instructor. He's gonna break you down a little bit, but he's always gonna be there to build you back up and to keep carrying you on. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's pretty good at it. So.
All right, Caleb, earned yourself a scholarship last year. What does this one have in store for you?
I'm worried about making my teammates better and my running back room better, and ultimately winning 6 games or more and getting to the bowl season. That's what my main goal is for the team. Doing things for Nevada and changing the culture here.
I know it's still early on, just literally a week or so into spring ball, but what have you garnered and taken from your new running backs coach that's been around when it comes to this sort of thing?
I get that he believes in me and my guys. I believe that he's doing everything right, coaching us up, learning things that we didn't learn before. I think everybody has gotten better in this first week alone, and I think the sky is the limit for our group and what Coach Mastro, can give to us.
I mean, he coached some of the greatest running backs in Nevada history. I mean, does that, those credentials kind of help when you're trying to listen to him as well?
Yeah, I would even say like him doing those things and, having those 3 running backs or 3 guys go for 1,000 yards in one season is huge. Because it gives me confidence and other guys confidence like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. So if he's saying I'm doing this right, I'm going to be able to do those things too. So like I feel like with Coach Mastro, a new confidence has been instilled in the group. Like if he believes in us, like he had those type of guys and he's coached, good running backs that have went on to the next level. And like I think that's just so huge with the confidence level in us believing in ourselves on a deeper level as a group.
A little different format for the spring. I guess, how are you enjoying that?
I'm actually enjoying it a lot. I like the way that it's formatted because, like, when you make mistakes, everybody's going to make mistakes during spring ball. And if you have some mistakes, like, one day, and it can hurt yourself. Like, you're just like, dang, man, I want to fix that, And, usually we have a day off after a practice. So, like, it's just dwelling on your mind and just messes up your mental. I think the 5 days straight, like we get to, oh, I messed up. I'm finna go back tomorrow and I'm finna fix it. I think that's just so huge for guys like me and other guys that, are very serious about their play. I also like the way how we're getting things done and we're able to get a more format of like fall camp so that we get a preview and guys that are young. We have a lot of young freshmen that, early enrolled and also that have, just this is their first spring. I think this is good for them to get a feel for what fall camp is like and what the season is like.
New offensive coordinator, Coach Gilbertson. I know he was around, obviously, last year, I guess. What do you liked about him taking over the offense and leading you guys?
I love it. Coach Gilby is doing a great job right now. I think everything is so simple, and it gives us time to execute, they say, like, you practice the same move 1,000 times, and you're going to be perfect at it, and I think that's what we're doing right now, practicing the same plays. We're not doing too much as an offense, and I think that's going to elevate our play as a group because everybody knows their job. There's no confusion, and our operation is perfect right now, and I think we're just doing so good as a group, and we just got to keep pushing.
You're one of those guys who had to go through junior college. Seems like Coach Cho's kind of putting an emphasis on more of those blue-collar, lunch pail kind of guys who haven't had it easy. How is that kind of transitioning into the locker room as you guys are trying to build something maybe that's greater than the sum of its parts?
I think it's making a better group for Nevada football. Coach Cho even said he wants to make this is the type of school that needs grit and grind, guys that are coming from the bottom that rise to the top. And I think that's the best way to win, especially in this Mountain West Conference. You have to have players that want to play, and they have to want to win, and they have to be willing to do so. So I think getting guys from junior college that had to, scrape at the bottom to get to the top, I think that's going to help us a lot. And we're going to be able to work hard and not be entitled as a group, as a whole team, not just the offense. Be able to work for things and strive and be able to reach them.
Obviously, every running back wants as many carries as possible. With the roster kind of turning over at some of these skill positions, how would you describe the hunger of guys trying to get on the field, trying to get, touches as much as possible?
I think for our group, everybody's working hard and trying to, show out. I think that's what we're supposed to do. At any time, you got, a few running backs that want to play and everybody's good. You have to do those things in practice. So I think with our group, we know, like, this is a very competitive group. So everybody's working hard and showing their best efforts every play. And I think that just helps the team as a whole because that just makes our play better. If we're working hard together and competing against each other, that's just going to make another player better that, can help us win. So I think, carries-wise, none of us are really thinking about that. We're thinking about, I'm going to give my best effort on this specific play. And, you never know. It might be a 60-yard touchdown if you just do your job, and you might not need 30 carries a game, Mm-hmm. So I think with our group, we're just focused on our first play, we do our job. If it's a pass play, do our job. And if it's a run play, we're going to do our job. So essentially just doing things right, and that's going to lead to, getting our touches. So, yeah.
You feel different heading into the spring camp as opposed to last year when you were a walk-on, nobody knew a lot about?
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot more confidence. So that's something I liked a lot, in spring ball specifically. Fall camp, I had a lot more confidence going into the season last year. But this spring, I have a lot of confidence because I know the offense, for one, and for two, just my ability. I believe in the work I put in the offseason, and also my mental, focusing on my mindset, thinking about my goals and my preparation, and have nothing to stress about. Just, I did everything I needed to do in the off season, got healthy, and just, I think that just pays off for, when we play.
You guys added a transfer in Herschel from Utah State. I guess, what have you seen from him?
Herschel's great, man. Herschel's a great running back. He's young, too, and he's got a lot of ability. He's smart. He knows how to play football. He's going to be a great addition to our running back room and our team. He's always positive. Nothing negative comes from him. He's always smiling. And he's a great player and athlete, and he's going to continue to do great things for us.
What makes you optimistic this year is going to be different than last year?
Just the vibe. I feel like our team has a different vibe, a different feeling. A lot of guys were individuals last year on our team. This year, Coach Choate made an emphasis to purge those guys out and get guys that want to work every day, blue-collar guys. And I think that's just going to help us for the better. And I think our team, like Coach Choate said, we need those type of guys at the University of Nevada. Other places it might work where you got flashy and that type of stuff. But here, the grit and the grind is what we need, and I think that's going to work and be our recipe.